Capitol, they're scheming in the night, selling out our freedoms for a pocket full of spite. From the border to the heartland, the wolves are at the door, twisting truth and tearing down what our fathers fought before. But I'm a patriot source, standing tall and true, with a Bible in my hand and old glory flying blue. Ain't apologizing for loving this land. We'll fight the forces of evil with fire in our stand. God bless the USA, we'll never back down. Patriots for freedom, wearing that crown.
Which layout am I? Oh, there we go. That's the layout we use. What's up, everybody? Happy Wednesday. In case you guys haven't noticed, we're missing one. SK has decided that she needs. Oh, I need to move this camera. I'm all over the place. SK has decided that she's going to take. I'm just, we're over here just talking about politics. We're talking about the elections because this is the type of stuff that Nom and I really enjoy. We love talking politics and we like talking shop. So we're in the back, in the green room, just talking about like the implications from last night's primary elections, and totally forgot that my camera was like stationed way back there where I put it, unless I'm using it. So I look like I was sitting all the way back. But anyway, we got a lot to talk about tonight. But before we do that, now I don't know if you saw it, but because SK is not here tonight, she had to take the night off. Her son is getting married in a couple of weeks, and she's got like 2 weeks left of school for the younger ones. So she's got a million things going on. I wouldn't be surprised if she hops in later. Maybe, I don't know, maybe shows up in the comments. But yeah, that's right. The chat will not be the same without SK because Nom and I suck at the chat, but I was paying attention to the chat earlier.
I bet she shows up in the chat.
I think she will too. We should send her a text and say, hey, the folks want you to show up in the chat, even if you can't be on the show, because they're going to miss you. So we'll try to get her to join the chat here in a little bit. But I did want to give a shout out. Charlotte Jones, who was, I think, maybe the second person here today, showed up like 35 minutes before the show started, announced that her niece just had twin boys today.
Oh, that's fun.
Congratulations.
Super fun.
Small, 4 pounds and 14 ounces. I think Nom and I were just a little bit bigger than that when we were born. But, when there's two of you, there's not a lot of room in there. So you make do with the space that you got. But congratulations, Charlotte, to your niece on the birth of twins. But that spun off a really interesting conversation that I don't know if you saw this, Nom. But Devil Dog then asked probably the most important question of all. Do those twins have all their fingers?
I have all of my fingers, just not all of every finger.
Yeah. Well, I don't think he was pointing out that you're missing a finger, just a part of one of the fingers. But then I think he got a little bit nervous that he might hurt your feelings. So I think we just want to like set the chat at ease.
That would require that I have feelings.
Well, I don't know. I may have gave it away. I kind of told him that, Nom is a pretty tough guy on the outside, but he's really a giant softy on the inside. Wait until you get a chance to see Nom interact with his dogs.
Oh, the pugs. Oh, come on.
Pugs.
Come on. The pugs.
Yep.
Come on.
The pugs.
Come on.
Yep.
There's nothing better than a pug pile. Nothing.
I mean, they sleep in the bed with him. They just like all cuddle together. He pushes one of them around, maybe two of them around in a stroller because he has to. But there is a soft spot somewhere in the hard, tough guy exterior, and it's to his wife, to his kids, and to his dogs.
Not the kids most of the time because, frankly, kids are stupid. They're dumb. They do stupid shit.
And sometimes you have to be tough on kids, for sure.
Right. But you don't have to be tough on pugs, ever.
That's true. That's true. Now, before we launch off into what I think is probably going to be one of the I think the most fun conversations that we've had so far, because I love this type of stuff. There was one comment in here that I want to address because I saw this showing up all over social media in the last few days. So I decided to go do a little bit of research. And it was from Christy Wilson. So Christy Wilson, I'm trying to find the comment so I can pull it up. It's towards the beginning. Now, see if you can find the comment from Christy Wilson towards the beginning where she asked the question, what does everybody think of this global oil reserve concept that is being promoted? And the storyline is that Donald Trump, BlackRock, and others are starting to talk about creating this global oil reserve. I think they call it the World Collective Oil Reserve. And this is making the rounds all over social media. So what Kristen was asking is, what are our thoughts on it? Well, unfortunately, it sounds like this is nothing more than just a crypto scam. So there is some token coins out there on the Solana exchange that seem to be hyping a new coin that they're marketing, and they're marketing it with this concept. They're basically saying that a bunch of global leaders are going to announce some big giant, are going to have some giant announcement here coming up on May 9th or something like that. And they say there's a 97% chance that the world is going to create a oil reserve, kind of like we have our strategic oil reserve here. But from what I can tell, it seems like it's just one of those crypto hoaxes, those scams. They're trying to pump a bunch of investors into a meme coin, essentially. And then it'll likely end up being one of those pump and dump scenarios where a bunch of people get excited about something. And then once everyone's excited, the initial investors pull all of their investment out and everyone else is left holding the bag. Now, I could be wrong, but I have not seen anything official announced at all. And all of the media coming out about this seems to be tied back to this particular coin. And the coin is it looks like this. It's basically a $sign, WCOR. And it's on the Solana exchange, which, by the way, Solana is one of my favorite exchanges. I haven't messed around in the crypto industry in quite a while, but I used to love to dabble on the Solana exchange because there was a ton of activity there. So Solana is a legitimate cryptocurrency exchange, but that doesn't mean that every coin on the Solana exchange is a legitimate coin. So
of course,
just be aware.
Of course,
if anyone's trying to get you to invest in anything to prop up this global oil or global oil reserve, it's probably a scam.
Can we just add that sounds to me, listen, not a lot of information available, obviously, but it sounds to me like it's the exact antithesis of what Trump is actually trying to do with the national security strategy. And instead of trying to globalize something like an oil reserve, he's actually trying to create regional, regional partnerships to handle this stuff, so you don't have the massive global fluctuations in oil prices the way that you do. And by the way, he is currently in the process, if not almost already there, of setting up the United States as essentially OPEC for the next 100 years. And he's doing that through all of the choke points that we've talked about, the choke points that China uses and Asia uses to get over to the Middle East and Europe, choke point through the Panama Canal, the choke point all the way up through Greenland, up there in the north, and then obviously the Straits of Hormuz.
Yeah, do you remember the announcement from the Department of War from Pete Hegseth a couple of weeks ago that kind of flew under the radar, where we just announced cooperation with Indonesia to basically help them defend a strait that China relies exclusively on to get their oil from Middle Eastern countries over to the mainland China. So
that's one I was mentioning. I don't remember the name of it.
Yeah.
It starts with a K something or other, but yeah.
So the goal, obviously, from the Trump administration is to have what we're going to call free flow of oil, of energy into the global economy. But it can only be free flowing if we have the ability to secure those routes, those trade routes, which is why Iran and the Straits of Hormuz is so incredibly important. So we'll get to some updates on Iran a little bit later because there's some new information that's come out. And I think that what's going on in Iran right now is the thing that has the Democrats and the political establishment in Washington, D.C. absolutely crapping in their pants. They are terrified that Donald Trump's strategy is working, and the timing of his strategy working could spell disaster. Absolute disaster for the globalists, the Democrats, and even the people who are trying to ride out MAGA and the Republican Party. But first, we should probably hop over and start talking about what happened last night. Nom, you were pretty excited about the results of the Midwestern primaries. Ohio, Indiana, mainly. Those two states held primaries last night, and the results were just incredible.
Earth-shattering. Well, they weren't shocking to us.
Yeah.
Actually, because we've been telling you the entire time that no, MAGA is not dead. What you are seeing, this amalgamation of the far right, the racist, the fake and gay, black pill losers over there that are trying to create a new political party by joining with the far left lunatics, that they are not nearly as large as they want you to believe. That's why they are entirely propped up by bots and sock puppet accounts. So what happened, right? Well, over in Indiana, as many people know, you guys probably heard about this and talked about it all day long. You essentially had a bunch of Indiana state senators who refused to redraw the district maps, the legislative maps, a number of months ago. And if you remember, the day that they had this vote, President Trump warned them. He said, if you do not succeed at this, you will be primaried and you will lose your seats. And what happened last night? Almost all of them, almost every single one of them that were primaried by MAGA Trump candidates, they lost their seats because MAGA actually still exists. We still have the power. Trump's Trump's endorsement still has and still carries all the power in politics today. And he might be the only president, the only endorsement out there that in my lifetime and probably any time in the future that actually matters.
Yeah.
Frankly.
I mean, think about it. Seriously, folks, think about it. Ask yourself a question. How many of you go out and actually pull the lever for a candidate because somebody told you to? Nobody does. Maybe 8%, 5%, 10%. I don't know. I'm sure there's some small sliver of voters who actually pull the lever for somebody because they were told to. But that's not the point here. You see, MAGA exists. Let me say it another way. Donald Trump is not MAGA. MAGA created Donald Trump. But Donald Trump exists to represent the MAGA movement, exists to represent the will of the MAGA voter. And when the will of the MAGA voter is we want to win and we are willing to play hardball in order to do it. Because honestly, if you're anything like Nom and I am sick and tired of a bunch of weak ass Republicans who constantly love to get their butts kicked and roll over like a bunch of pansies, because that is what Republicans have always done. And finally, someone comes along and stands up and says, we're not playing this game anymore. We're not playing the same old tired Republican Party game anymore. We're not playing the weak United States gets taken advantage of on the global scale anymore. We're not going to play the globalist dumb hammer doing the will of the globalist establishment on the world stage anymore. We're not doing that because finally someone came along and said, we have an American interest that we need to start paying attention to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what we've got going on, folks, is we have, frankly, just a bunch of people who would like you to believe, and we're talking about the folks, the podcast bros and hoes and over there in Podcastistan, that would like you to believe that they are the smartest people in the room and they understand, or they're going to lead you down a path that is truly America first, but they're too stupid to understand exactly how everything that President Trump is doing is actually America first. Setting up the United States of America for the next 100 years to continue to not only be the global superpower, but also the peacemakers in the world for, I don't know how long it'll last, 20 years, 30 years, 100 years, that's fine. But at the end of the day, it won't matter because we will have total control over most of the shipping lanes. We will essentially replace the British Empire without all of the imperialism and all of the, what do they call it when they took over all those other countries?
What's imperialism?
Imperialism. Yeah, without all of that, we don't need it. Nation building. Right. So you've got the fake and gays out there, the faggots out there who are trying to lecture you and they're trying to scare you into whatever they're trying to scare you into based on their understanding of the old rules-based order, not the new world that we live in. Because make no mistake about it, we live in a new world, and it is one that President Trump and his cabinet and his military are currently shaping. And if you can't see it, I'm sorry, we've been explaining it to you for months now.
That's right. That's right.
That's right.
So let's get back to Indiana, right? So really, Indiana, there were two stories that came out of Indiana. The first one that we want to focus on is what happened at the state legislature level, right? So as Nom accurately explained, Donald Trump basically warned them, if you guys don't pass this map, we're coming after you. And of course, a bunch of RHINO Republicans in the state of Indiana, who, by the way, appear to have been influenced, at least in part, probably fairly heavily by Mike Pence. And I'm hearing Pete Buttigieg was involved in some of that decisioning as well, effectively telling the state senators in Indiana, you don't have to worry about Donald Trump. We got some things cooked up probably in the congressional or in the federal legislature where if we just wait this guy out, we think we have enough votes to impeach him and eventually remove him. And
folks, hold on, just pause real quick, because what you just said there is the key to understanding literally all of this, right? The Senate is doing this, the House not so much. You've got certain states, you've got rhinos across the country, you've got, again, the faggots, the fake and gays, the black pillars, everybody. You've got the folks on the global stage, the globalists out there, Iran. They're all just hoping, again, to wait out President Trump. And listen, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if you see something teetering on the verge of another global pandemic just magically appearing in the next, I don't know, year or two. Just keep that
year.
Yeah,
dude. Did you not hear that there's some virus that they just pulled or pulling people on stretchers off of some cruise ship that just hit the shores?
It's rodent borne, all those things. Yeah.
I mean, look, there's no doubt that there are plans in the works to try to do everything they can to remove Donald Trump from office before the end of his term. And I guarantee you that the conversations that were happening, wait, Claire is over on Paramount Tactical tomorrow? Heck yeah, we need to be supporting Claire. Our girl Claire from the Patriot Source Network sounds like she's going to be on Paramount Tactical. I'm excited for that. Go
awesome.
Claire. Proud of you.
Yep.
But there's no doubt that there was whisperings going on in the legislature in Indiana, basically telling the senators, don't worry about it. We got your back. We will make sure that Donald Trump can't inflict any pain. So it is my argument that what happened in the state of Indiana and to a similar extension in the state of Ohio was the existential fight that needed to happen in this primary cycle. Because if the state senators in Indiana were able to hold their seats, that would have actually breathed life into this idea that MAGA is dead. And instead, what happened? Donald Trump endorsed candidates to oppose 7 of those state senators. And as of last night, 5 of those state senators were already declared to have lost their seat. And I don't mean just lost their seat. I mean, we're talking about got their ever-loving rear ends handed to them. I mean, just got trounced into the dirt. Another one, it looked like at the end of the night last night, was losing by 3 votes. And because of the way the provisional ballot counts were going, it feels like she may actually turn out and win that race. And I'm also hearing that the 7th of the 7 could possibly flip as well. It is likely that all 7 of the Trump-endorsed candidates are going to win their state Senate seat. All 7 of them.
Do you guys know how hard it is to beat an incumbent? Not just one incumbent, but all of the incumbents? Do you know how difficult it is? Because of the ability that they have to build their war chest. Now, listen, I know this is state politics and the amount of money is nowhere near as significant as you see on the federal stage, but there's still a lot of money. The operation, the infrastructure, to get out the vote that these incumbents have, their ability to raise money versus a challenger, and you've got 5, potentially 6, maybe all 7 of these incumbents losing. Do you know what was the other thing that I was incredibly interested to see last night?
hold on a second. Before you go further, I want to stay on this point for a second, because you have to understand how big of an ass whooping the Never Trumper RHINO class took last night. Donald Trump endorsed 7 candidates. All right. In District 1, Trevor DeVries defeated Dan Dernl, whatever his name is, by 52 points.
That's an ass beat. I didn't know it was that big. That's an ass beat.
Brian
Love that.
Schmutzler defeated Linda Rogers by 18 points. Blake
Who is naming these
Feicher-
people?
I don't know. Blake Feicher defeated Travis Holdman by 22 points. Tracy Powell defeated James Buck by 30 points. Michelle Davis defeated Greg Walker by double digits. The average across all of these was roughly 25 points. These are incumbents that got beat on average by 25 points. Nam, have you ever experienced anything in our political observation life where a group of incumbents that were targeted lost by an average of 25 points?
No, I've not seen anything like that. I think the closest you could probably recall is probably the Tea Party movement, when you saw a bunch of challengers, a bunch of insurgents come in and wipe out a bunch of incumbents. But I don't think the margins was nearly that large. But can we give credit where credit is due? Because this was the other part of why I was so fascinated for what happened. Because, so President Trump endorsed all 7 of those challengers, and they wiped the floor with their incumbents. But it wasn't just President Trump's endorsement that did it.
Yes.
Who else did it?
Well,
Turning Point Action.
That's right.
Turning Point Action. Tyler Boyer. I don't know if you remember this, but Tyler Boyer and I had a little bit of back and forth. I was trying to pull it up on my X page a couple of weeks ago, talking about Candace, and he was like, "Hey, you know what? She can be out there running her mouth, but you know what we're doing at Turning Point Action? We're actually working. We are growing. We are growing our members. We are growing our fundraising. We are growing our Get Out the Vote operation." And they put it into practice in Indiana, and that was the result. So while, again, the fake and gay
Scott
Presler, you can't forget Scott Presler. Scott Presler, 100%. Everywhere Scott Presler goes, that's right. But Turning Point Action, because we were told that Turning Point was essentially dead, right? It's a dying organization. Erica Kirk has no idea what she's doing. They're laundering money. It's all corrupt. Turns out, while they're levying those accusations, Turning Point Action's just over there quietly kicking the ever living shit out of the RHINO incumbents. That's what blew my mind yesterday, because it turns out not only is MAGA not dead, Turning Point USA is not dead either. So the faggots, again, had another really, really bad night last night.
They had a terrible night across the board. Everywhere you look, they got absolutely destroyed. And to say that, well, faggot had nothing to know, that they did. Because in Ohio, for example, the fake ass wannabe black pill America First candidate, a guy by the name of Casey Push, who is running against Vivek Ramaswami, embodies every bit of the radical, racist, America-only ideals of the FAGA influencers, was actually on Tucker Carlson's show just like 2 weeks ago and got beat by 75 freaking points. 75 points. Now, nobody knew who Casey Push was. I mean, I had never heard of the guy here in the state of Ohio, but the one of the biggest messages that came out of last night's primaries is this, and I hope you guys hear us on this. This is so critically important. Social media is not real. It's not real. We've been banging on this drum for months now. The fake engagement that happens on social media day in and day out is meant to do one thing. It is meant to discourage you so that you don't leave your house and go vote. That's the only reason why foreign countries and adversaries and NGOs who are involved in this disgusting color revolution in this country, it's the only reason why they are willing to pour hundreds of billions of dollars into our political system. It's just to convince you that you don't matter and that your vote doesn't matter. But when it comes down to it, your vote does matter. Going out and voting for the agenda that you want to see implemented matters. It's critically important that you get out and vote. And the MAGA base did just that in Indiana and in Ohio.
Now,
so go ahead.
There's a problem here, though, right? Because, and you're going to get into this in just a minute. There's a problem here, and what the faggots are going to do, what the racists, the anti-Semites. I mean, we played a clip on Monday of Nick Fuentes just literally just openly throwing out the N-word, right? We're going to get into what he's done, but that Casey Push and those 143,000 primary votes he just got, you can guarantee that the faggots are going to try to push every single one of those votes up there to Amy Acton, who, by the way, is a Jewish Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to do that. That's what they're going to do, right? Because they are racist fucking losers, and they will not have a brown-skinned Vivek Ramaswamy, the governor of Ohio. That's as raw as it gets. I'm sorry. That is just as simple as it gets, because they are just racist. And they tell you they're racist.
That is exactly what the Groyper army is going to try to do. But I've been engaging with people here in Ohio for the last couple of days on this topic, and I have yet to meet anybody in the state of Ohio that actually thinks like Nick Fuentes and his Groyper army thinks. Instead, what Ohio voters are worried about are actual things that people should care about. They don't necessarily think that Vivek is the perfect candidate because he supports data centers. That's the big issue in the state of Ohio right now: data centers and property taxes. So what Casey Push was actually campaigning on is we are not going to allow any data centers to be built in the state of Ohio, which
that's just an economic suicide.
It's suicide.
It's economic suicide.
That's the thing that people have to, that we have to be able, I'm not even going to be in this state for much longer, but that's the thing that Ohio voters are going to have to understand. And look, I am uniquely qualified to talk about this particular matter because the reason why we have made a decision to move south is because a data center is literally being built 75 feet from my back door of where we were going to rebuild our house after it burned down. And I'm not joking. As a matter of fact, it's probably more like 50 feet because I live out in the country and my property line was a little closer than what any of us really thought it was, because we just cut the grass up to where the cornfield was. But apparently about 25 feet of the grass I was cutting actually belonged to the farmer that sold to a company who is now building their data center. So we were displaced because of a fire and because a data center is being built there. And my wife and I were like, we don't want to live next to a data center. And I still support the reality that data centers are here to stay. So what Vivek Ramaswamy is doing is he is arguing that we have to responsibly manage this, but we have to do it in a way that it can positively impact our economy. Because like Nom just said, it is absolute economic suicide to try to block data centers from moving into a state where it could have a massive positive impact on taxes, on revenue. Those of you folks in the state of Ohio that actually want to see your property taxes reduced or eliminated, you damn well better be asking for data centers to be here, because you're going to have to replace that revenue somehow.
So this is so frustrating to me, because not only is it economic suicide from a state or even a local perspective. I mean, it is. I mean, the tax base that you're going to lose by blocking these things, it's just stupid. It's just dumb. More importantly, listen, we are in an arms race with the rest of the world to win AI. Who is going to be the powerhouse in AI? Because you don't want to not be the powerhouse when it comes to AI. You don't want China to win the AI race. So are they essentially, I mean, are these guys essentially saying if we're going to block these data centers that we're just going to live, we're just going to stay back here in what's essentially going to be the dark ages in, I don't know, probably 10 years? Because I mean, this stuff is growing it's exponential on exponential. It's end exponential. I mean, it's insane how rapidly this technology is growing. You're not going to stop it. If you pretend like you're just going to not be able to participate, you're going to be living in the dark ages in 10 years. You just will.
Well,
it's stupid.
It's not even that you're going to be living in the dark ages, because somebody else is going to build this technology. And it's likely going to be another state or worse, it's going to be another country. It's going to end up being China or someone like that who, look, AI, Nom, you know this better than anybody here, better than me for sure. What is the most important thing about AI? Is it not who controls the inputs to it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's just like anything else. If you want to use AI for nefarious reasons to control people, then you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why we don't want a communist country like China to be the ones leading the innovation of AI, because if they control the innovation and the technology, it will control every aspect of your life.
Let me ask you a question. What do you think happens, right, in a Chinese wins the AI race world where, you know, their version of AI in history and knowledge, I don't know, it doesn't understand, or it refuses to comprehend things like Tiananmen Square or anything like that, right? Or capitalism, because that's what you will get from it. Whereas what we are proposing and we're trying to build here is something that resembles sort of a free speech, like, you know, knowledge is knowledge sort of AI thing. You're going to get the exact opposite of that. You're going to get the great firewall version of AI if we lose this race. You just will. And you're going to have second-rate and third-rate weaponry that come as a result. Why do you guys think China and their weaponry got utterly embarrassed in Iran by our military? Because they are not currently winning the AI race. Because their version of AI is basically trying to run down the road with the shoelaces tied together, because they won't allow actual information, the real history of the world, the real science, to be part of it. It's just that simple.
Yeah, I mean, look, Rude Dog Madigan actually asked a really important question, but I want to frame this what I think would be the right way. It is not an either or question. All right. Data centers, just like everything else, when you're thinking about them from an economic standpoint, is not an either or. All right. There's trade-offs in there. Right. It's like we were just talking about, insecticides and chemicals put on food and corporate farming. And basically there is the position that you shouldn't do any of that. And then there's the other position, like, yeah, you have to, because you have to feed people. Well, it's the same thing with data centers. What needs to happen, and I'm not an expert on the policies around this by any means, and I'm not interested in becoming one, because I think there's other things that interest me more. But instead of taking the position that we want to keep our state, the state of Ohio, behind the curve economically from everybody else who's going to be responsibly pursuing this technology, what policymakers should be doing is, I think, what Vivek Ramaswamy is talking about, which is we need to do it responsibly. We need to figure out how we can coexist with somebody who wants to bring this technology into our state, so that when they do need access to water, they are paying for it. Or when they need access to energy, they are paying for it. That is a conversation that can be had, but that conversation can never happen when you have someone like Casey Push, who is literally just carrying the water for the racist, FAGA, fake ass, wannabe Black Pill America First crowd. You have to be willing to have that conversation. Like, how do you do this reasonably and responsibly? Because it's going to happen one way or the other.
Yep.
So back to Indiana real quick, because I think there was another storyline that came out of the state of Indiana. From a MAGA perspective, it was an overwhelming blowout last night. Donald Trump, his endorsement still matters to the MAGA base. The CNN polling from Harry Enton weeks ago saying that 100% of MAGA still supports Donald Trump is true. But the question then becomes, well, how big is MAGA? Is MAGA still the political force across the political world that it was just a few years ago? And that, I think, is going to be the ultimate question. Just because you steamroll a bunch of never Trumper RHINO Republicans in a closed Republican primary doesn't necessarily mean that's going to translate into a general election. Fair? And one of the problems that happened last night in Indiana is that we didn't really get a good read on that, because a lot of Republican-held districts in the state of Indiana are very safe. They are very red districts. Well, let's be honest. It was cold and rainy here in the Midwest yesterday. If you live in a safe district and you have a congressman who's really not being challenged by anybody, you're probably not going to get out and go vote in the primary because it just doesn't really matter that much. And what we saw ultimately was you saw much more competitive Democrat primary races where Democrats were more motivated to go out. And I think across the entire state and all of the federal congressional races, Democrats had like 20,000 more voters show up than Republicans did. But that's not an illustration in my mind that Democrats have more momentum or more energized. It's just a consequence of the makeup of the districts and the fact that it's a primary and it was cold and rainy yesterday.
Dude, were there any statewide races that went on in Indiana?
I didn't
like governor, Senate, anything like that. Because that's a good bellwether. I don't know if we need to look that up because that's a good bellwether because we actually we have that information from Ohio yesterday. You actually do have 2 statewide races when it comes to the primary. You had Sherrod Brown, who actually had an opponent. He's running for Senate again. Sherrod Brown lost his seat to J.D. Vance. Right? It was J.D. Vance, or was it?
Can we just get rid of Sherrod Brown, please?
He's never going away. He's never going away. He's actually
politicians. Go get a job, dude. Go find something productive to do with your life, please. Ohio has rejected you multiple times.
He can't. That's why he's back trying to be a Democrat senator again because he can't actually get a real job. So that's a statewide race, and then we had the Republican governor primary, which is a statewide race. Amy Acton, by the way, this blew my mind. This absolutely blew my mind. Amy Acton, I didn't even realize was running unopposed because I'm not in Ohio anymore. And you couldn't tell it by her celebratory text message she sent me, celebrating the fact that after all of her hardships in her life, she finally won and she is the Democrat nominee.
Wait,
hardships? And I'm like, hold on, lady. Hold on, lady. You didn't even run against anybody.
Hold on a minute. Hardships in life? This woman lives in Bexley, Ohio.
Dude, let me see if I can find it because it read like she was picked on and she was made fun of.
Welcome to adolescence. Hardship.
Oh God, I have to find. I want to read this. Please tell me I can find it.
Holy crap!
No, tomorrow.
While you're looking for that, we're going to talk a little bit about hardships. Because Amy Acton celebrating overcoming the hardships that she experienced in life, it is a miracle that Ohio survived the hardships that Amy Acton inflicted on Ohioans.
Found it.
Okay.
All right. As a child, I faced abuse, hunger, and homelessness. Tonight, I become the Democrat nominee for governor of Ohio. Bet you ran unopposed. You didn't win anything, like at all. You ran unopposed. I delivered newspapers and I waited tables to work my way through college and medical school. Spent my life focused on blah, 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 blah.
Congratulations. You worked your way through school, just like 95% of college students who go to school these days. You know what? When I decided to go back to college, I was 30, had a family, had a full-time job, and still graduated with a 4.0 magna cum laude and did all of it together. I mean, come on, Amy Acton, you're not that special. But what I'm most concerned about, and Ohio voters should be most concerned about, is we actually have a record of this woman.
Mm-hmm.
She has a record. She's not an unknown entity. People in Ohio know exactly who Amy Acton is. She is the one who was in charge of Ohio health policy during COVID. And the draconian COVID lockdowns that she implemented persisted for over a year in the state. Now, make no mistake, Governor DeWine, a Republican governor, could have overruled her, could have actually removed some of these restrictions, but he didn't. She implemented almost a 6-week total lockdown of the state. Total lockdown. You couldn't go to work. You couldn't go to the grocery store. You basically were told, stay home, shut up, do nothing. Businesses were shut down. Schools were shut down. People lost their jobs. People were losing their minds. I mean, everybody, you guys know this. I mean, most people understand what it was like. But on top of that, after they lifted the total lockdowns, they then continued additional restrictions for months. As a matter of fact, the mask mandates that Amy Acton, who, by the way, is a doctor and should have known that masks don't do anything to protect you from a COVID virus. She should have known that because everyone else knew it. The COVID the mask mandates that she implemented stayed in effect for over a year in this state. Now, the Democrats and the Fuentes groypers will tell you, yeah, but she stepped away from that role in June of 2020. Yeah, she did, because Ohioans hated her guts because of what she did. Could not stand that woman. Every day she would get out in front of the entire state and lecture the state about social distancing, wearing your masks, staying home. I mean, it was awful here. And yet now suddenly she thinks that she's the candidate to run for governor. Are you kidding me?
Now, you said something interesting. You said Fuentes would defend her and saying that she left later in like December of 2020. Why would Fuentes be defending her?
I mean, you guys remember, well, maybe hold on, back up. Well, let's go ahead and put that up. So you guys
hold
remember,
on, actually this one.
You guys remember just like a week ago where Nick Fuentes came out and just like spilled the beans, right? And released a video or on one of his rambling, incoherent, like 12-hour long podcasts where the man child just says the dumbest, most absurd, racist things that you can possibly imagine it's like a stream of racistness consciousness that just flows out of his mouth every night. Well, he just flat out admitted to his entire audience, I'm a moderate Democrat. He told everybody what we already knew. I'm a moderate Democrat. And then as soon as the primaries ended yesterday, and it was obvious within seconds that Casey Push was going to lose the primary overwhelmingly by 75 points, by the way, he immediately jumped in and officially has endorsed Amy Acton as the governor of Ohio. A Democrat, female, Jew. She's Jewish. She's a woman. Nick Fuentes has built his entire influencer persona on misogyny and hatred for Jews. But there is one thing that he hates more than those two. It's brown people.
Mm-hmm.
It's brown people. Put up the next screenshot from him. There's another one in there. So you can see. Look at this. This is what Nick Fuentes is now saying. The GOP think they can force us to elect a Hindu Indian anchor baby billionaire who blames lazy Americans for being destroyed by free trade and mass migration. We can afford to lose Ohio for 4 years if Vivek Ramaswami is retired forever.
Folks, understand what that just said. Let me bring this back up. I want everybody to understand this last pair. I mean, that racist nonsense up there, that's fine, whatever. The last sentence here, we can afford to lose Ohio for 4 years if Vivek Ramaswamy is retired forever.
Who's we?
Now, they mean that in every state and the entire country as well. And they mean that because they need the MAGA base to be destroyed so that their fake and gay ass party can actually be launched. Understand exactly what's happening. They are more than happy to turn all of this over to the psychotic lunatic left, which they're going to try to pair up with. And they think that they'll be able to pull back the reins after just another 4 years. They're happy to do it.
Well, my question is, who's we? Nick Fuentes doesn't live in Ohio. He's from Illinois. He's from Chicago. He's probably never stepped foot in this state. Why in the hell is Nick Fuentes weighing in on an Ohio governor race with such force, as though he has any say in how voters in this state are going to vote? What? Huh? It's because he's a flat out racist. Actually, I have a slightly different perspective.
Amazing Torah says he's a neo-Nazi. But
Amazing Tor, I would love your opinion on this, because I posted a video earlier this evening about this, and it's just now starting to make the rounds. Probably will go viral here at some point. I think there's a lot more going on here with this guy. And I think it's indicative of what is happening to the FAGA class, to the fake ass wannabe Black Pill America First crowd, the people who think that they're going to be able to take total control of the political system by using a bunch of podcast bros and hoes to influence voters the way they want. I actually think there's something much deeper going on with Nick Fuentes. And I asked the question, is Nick Fuentes a honey trap? What do you guys think? Do you think that Nick Fuentes, I mean, because he is a caricature of everything that is the underbelly and that is wrong with this country.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he's a honey trap. And that's not how honey trap actually works. My honey trap is an attractive woman spy.
No, doesn't have to be. It can just be anything that attracts those who law enforcement want to map and they want to understand and they want to corral into one place. So I don't know if you guys saw this. This just started to make its rounds on social media recently. I didn't even know that this video existed, but it does. Oh, shoot. Can you pull up Fuentes as a Fed?
Keep moving towards the Capitol. It appears we are taking the Capitol back. Keep marching and don't relent. Never relent.
Yeah!
They're evacuating the Capitol. They're evacuating. Break down the barriers and disregard the police. This Capitol belongs to us.
So wait, is Nick Fuentes in this video?
He's the one with the megaphone, dude.
Oh, is he?
That's Nick Fuentes. Nick
All
Fuentes.
right, I'm going to hit play again because I didn't recognize the voice.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll go back to full screen.
They're evacuating the Capitol. They're evacuating the Capitol. They're evacuating. Break down the barriers and disregard the police. This Capitol belongs to us. They're evacuating the Capitol. They're evacuating the Capitol.
We can pause it from here and because that's basically the gist of it. So that's Nick Fuentes on January 6th, standing outside with a megaphone, inciting people to storm the Capitol. So here's the question. And you know, I don't have any evidence of this. This is just my theory. I love to this is like my favorite conspiracy theory of the day. Sometimes I like to concoct them in my mind because they make sense to me. So we know that the Southern Poverty Law Center was just indicted for paying members of the radical racist organizations to go in and do things like organize Charlottesville riots, right? We know that. We know that Nick Fuentes was one of the primary figures involved in Charlottesville. We also now know that Nick Fuentes was standing outside of J6 with a bullhorn inciting people to storm the Capitol. Many of those people that were incited to storm the Capitol ultimately ended up getting knocks on the door by the FBI. They were arrested, prosecuted, and convicted. And yet the guy standing outside with the bullhorn inciting people to do it was not.
So I have a question.
Yep.
I haven't read the entire charging document for the Southern Poverty Law Center. Did they name who the source was that they were paying, who they were funding to organize these things?
They didn't name who that individual was, but I think some ex-sleuths have possibly figured it out. And it was one of the people who were involved in the transportation of protesters. But that doesn't mean that he was the only one that was being engaged in this. Sure. But if now, I'm going to just raise a scenario with you. If you were, because you have to remember the timing that this was going on, right? You had Southern Poverty Law Center. I think that was in 2017 timeframe, somewhere around there. At that time, you had the James Comey and then eventually the Christopher Wray FBI. And if you remember, they put out multiple documents over that period of time. And from their perspective, the biggest threat to the American people was what? It was white supremacists, right?
Hold on. It's actually Charlottesville happened, I think, before the election.
Yeah, it was like 2017. It's like 2017, 2018.
That was before the 2016 election, wasn't it?
No, I think it was after. It was between that and the midterm. I think it was 2017.
Yeah, we need to look. I need to look that up because I remember didn't President Trump make a statement about it from Trump Tower? Hold on a second. When was it's hard to type missing half of your finger.
It was August 11th, 2017.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so it was 2017. So he'd been in office for not quite a year. So remember, under that FBI, the FBI believed, or they needed you to believe in order to continue with their color revolution against the American people. They needed you to believe that the greatest threat the American people faced from domestic terrorists were from people like Nick Fuentes, domestic terrorists, white nationalists, white supremacists. That's what they need you to believe. And now suddenly you have this young, charismatic kid, because he was a kid back then. I mean, he was like barely 20 something, just pop up on the scene and built a massive, or what appeared to be a massive platform, spewing some of the most disgusting, hateful, racist rhetoric, probably since, well, I don't know if I've ever heard somebody talk like that before. It's gross the way he talks, the things that he says.
A large part of his early audience was bots.
I think a lot of it.
Yeah, a lot of it still is. So I mean, there's the question you could ask is if you're going to stick with this, is how many of these bot farms are actually like run by our own government?
Well, and that's the
right?
question. If you're going to run a honeypot operation, if you are the FBI and you truly believe that the greatest threat the American people face is from white nationalists, then you probably want to try to understand who those white nationalists are and see if you can corral them into a single person or surrounding a single person, so you can watch what they're doing, so you can map them, so you can understand them.
Yep.
So I asked the question, is Nick Fuentes a honeypot? Because the guy, the guy just basically says whatever he has to say to attract the most radical lunatics he can find.
I don't know if he's a honeypot, but I do know, in fact, I need to bring this image back up, because I'm going to need a response. We're going to need a response from the Democrat nominee for the gubernatorial race in the state of Ohio about being endorsed by racist Nick Fuentes, who just the other day we played a video of him literally dropping the N-word, like just openly on his platform. I want to know if she is going to accept that endorsement, or if she's going to pretend like it didn't happen, or if she is going to say, no, thanks, I don't want your endorsement at all. Please go away. Amy Acton, you need to do some acting. What are you going to do? It's time to act, Amy Acton.
That's not the only endorsement that she's going to have to answer for, because what is just absolutely crazy, on the same day that Nick Fuentes throws his full support in for Amy Acton, so did Kamala Harris.
Oh.
And I'm here to tell you, Kamala Harris is not a very well-liked figure in the state of Ohio at all, because Ohioans had to live under the economic melees that were created by the auto pen. And we remember specifically the jobs that Kamala Harris was assigned to do as the vice president and the border czar, and then the flood of illegal immigrants that came into the state. We remember that. Ohioans remember that for sure. So now Amy Acton is going to need to respond and explain. You now have an endorsement from one of the most racist people on the planet in Nick Fuentes, followed by an army of some of the most disgusting, inhuman influencers on social media, these groypers. And now you got Kamala Harris supporting you too. It's not stacking up very well for you, Amy Acton. Now I know she's gonna love Kamala Harris. Here's what I think they're gonna do with this woman. And they're kind of already starting to do it. I'm pretty convinced that they are going to take the Abigail Spanberger approach with Amy Acton. They're going to try to convince Ohioans that she is a moderate Democrat. There's just one problem with that. Ohio is not a purple state, and it hasn't been a purple state for a very long time. And Amy Acton is not just a nobody CIA analyst that nobody knows anything about. Amy Acton actually has a record, and Ohioans actually felt the impact of this woman's draconian policies when she was put into office. She will, if she gets elected, will turn out to be one of the most radical Democrats to probably ever step foot in this state.
Listen, anyway, I'm going to tell you what.
I'm moving. So
Patriot Dad, if after you move, I'm gone. We're not voting. You won't be voting in that general election. You're going to have to get registered down in Southern Command. I will tell you though, if you end up electing an Amy Acton, and you're probably still going to get data centers, maybe. You're going to get a lot of
be
other
paying for those data centers under Amy Acton. There ain't no,
you will.
are absolutely going to be.
You're going to get screwed. But if you don't, I can tell you right now, Tate Reeves down here in Mississippi, our governor, you're welcome to come down here. We would actually really enjoy it. Thank you very much, because Mississippi is exploding economically, educational as a state, real estate, all of it. It's exploding right now. So we'll take them, bring them down here if Ohio screws this up.
I think we need a timeline cleanse.
We do.
Folks, have you guys been paying attention to what Spencer Pratt is doing out in California? You guys been paying attention to that? Nom thinks that California is actually in play this cycle.
I do.
He's pretty convinced that California is in play, that it could have a pretty big impact on the midterms. And I think a lot of it has to do with Spencer Pratt. I think momentum he's building. Go ahead.
Yeah, I looked up some of his polling numbers. He's not polling nearly as well as I thought he was, but the governor's race is fascinating to watch. Fascinating. All up and down the state. People are just tired of these Democrats. But when I mentioned this to you in the green room, we were talking about it, you did remind me that California is no different than New Jersey. Every year you think you're going to get it, and then they just cheat so much. It's basically insurmountable. It's totally insurmountable.
I mean, you might end up getting a Republican governor, but you're probably not going to win a majority of congressional seats in the state.
No. I just mean the governor. I just mean the governor's race.
Maybe. But the timeline cleanse, let's show. I don't think this came directly from Spencer Pratt's campaign, but whoever put this video together is a freaking genius.
It is. And this is important to understand, right? Bongino was talking about this today, and he talks about it all the time. And we're gonna reiterate it for those who don't catch that show. The two most important things.
Hold on a second. I need to interrupt you. Our girl, American Freedom Defenders, who's a P0 from TikTok, says that she lives in California, and Nom's right. It's in play.
Good.
What do you mean by it's in play? Just a governor race, or do you think that actual shifting of power in the congressional seats, do you think that's in play? I would love to hear your opinion on that.
Bring it back. I forgot what I was going to say.
I don't know.
Oh, the two most important things is politics, right? Snapshots and sound bites, and creating the what's the other one? The foil effect. If
you can change someone's perspective of a candidate, then you have muddied that candidate forever. Like, I'll give you an example. Everything that people try to challenge Donald Trump on, like if you go online and you're constantly berating, like, oh, Donald Trump's cheated on 4 of his wives. Yeah, we knew that. We knew that when we elected him, because we didn't elect Donald Trump to be our pastor. We elected him to be a businessman running a country as a president. That was all baked into our understanding of who the guy was. But what actually affects people from a political standpoint is if you can impact what people perceive somebody to be, right? Mm-hmm. And these Democrats have created this illusion that they care about the working class, that they're fighting for civil liberties. And the thing that's most damaging is when you can show that, in fact, they don't give a shit about the working class. So that's why an ad like the one that Nom's getting ready to show you is so powerful, because it directly challenges the preconceived illusion that the political class has been trying to sell you.
Well, but it also shows the stark differences between the two groups, right? So I love this video so much because it so clearly paints the picture of the results that you have gotten from these people who don't want you to talk about the results you've gotten from them. Again, as Thomas Sowell used to always say, these Democrats, they want all the credit for their great ideas, but they don't ever want to have to answer for the results of their great ideas, right? This is precisely what has gone on in California for entire too long. But when you isolate it and you shine a light on just how disastrous it truly is, I'm sorry, it just changes your entire understanding of this race. Let's clean the timeline.
Yep.
Please, I'm begging you. There's homeless drug addicts in front of the schools. My children aren't safe.
Look, if you were a transgender migrant, I could get you a free pussy.
Let's move the drug addicts closer.
Bass already solved crime. I endorse her.
Next!
Please, I just want to rebuild my home. It's been over a year.
Mom, look!
This is a machine. If we want to burn this town to the ground, pull through that!
That's
So,
great.
I mean, yeah, it's fantastic. Good timeline cleanse.
I have a question
Yep.
for you. And I don't know if this will get me in trouble, but I'm going to ask it in. Can we bring back throwing tomatoes at politicians when they piss us off? Can we bring that back?
It's probably assault now. I'm sure it's probably assault.
Is there something that we can do that is equal in terms of showing your disdain to a politician, but won't get you put in jail like throwing a tomato at them?
You can make videos like that.
Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah, and because you know what, that it's just as effective, frankly. I
Probably
think
more
more
effective.
people, more people will see that video than this. So we have a Rumble rant from Family Crest. Thanks, MAGA Jake, for bringing this over. People have gone through too much in California. The Dems have screwed them royally. I would be shocked if some seats don't flip. I mean, listen, all of the fraud that has been exposed in these Democrat strongholds, and when I say that, I'm also talking about Columbus, Ohio, where the second largest Somali community in the country exists, and North Columbus is a Democrat stronghold. There's like 3 in the state of Ohio: Cincinnati, and you got Cuyahoga County up north in Cleveland area, and then central in Columbus. The fraud that exists in these cities and in these states, you can't unwind it. They can try to unwind it. They can probably make the investigations go away, but people know now that we are literally watching hundreds of billions of dollars, if not more than that, just completely disappear while we've got a bunch of foreigners and people who've done nothing to earn the money driving around in Lexuses and Porsches and all those things. They're defrauding us. They're stealing it. They're stealing our money and they're laughing at us while they do it. And I think people have had enough of it, frankly. I think it's bad enough in some states. I really think it's bad enough.
And just like Brigitte, I think that's Brigitte. If it's Bridget, I'm sorry. Brigitte Martini says California has to fix the voter fraud first. California is never going to fix the voter fraud. That's going to have to, unfortunately, be left up to the federal government to do it because California benefits from the voter fraud. So
yeah, they're doing it. You're good. Listen, you're gonna have Harmeet Dillon and a swarm of DOJ observers watching these elections. You're going to have it. The reason why the 2024 election was not stolen was because the Trump organization, the Trump campaign, had put together enough observers, and they put together a program. One, it was too big to rig, and 2, they were watching very closely for it. The DOJ, Harmeet Dillon, is not fucking around with these people when it comes to voter fraud or election fraud. They're not fucking around. They're not going to let it happen.
That's right. The other thing that they're going to have to fix, and hopefully this is what Nam was talking about, and this is what Freedom Defenders was talking about, it's this.
Is absolutely beyond belief. In the aftermath of these fires, which destroyed 18,000 homes and killed, tragically, 30 people, there was a fire aid concert in which a number of high-profile musicians generously agreed to perform, and people responded in an amazing way. Tens of thousands of people donated, raising $100 million for what they were told was direct relief for the victims. But now we've learned that this money didn't go to the victims at all. Instead, it went to nonprofits, some of which have nothing to do with fire relief, where they promote things like voting and civic engagement and multi-generational power building. Some of them aren't even located in LA. So I've asked the Attorney General to open an investigation in order to restore the intent of the donors, in order to make the victims whole and to bring accountability. I yield back.
That's right. That was huge.
Flip us back, because I don't know if you saw what SK sent just as we were getting started. Did you see from Wall Street Apes? Because I grabbed it. Because building on what you just played, it turns out, according to Wall Street Apes, and we can't see it. Sorry, the overlay is blocking it, but it is from Wall Street Apes. Gavin Newsom and Jennifer Newsom diverted fire aid money into their own nonprofit organization. New evidence shows it was worse than we thought. Jennifer Newsom also personally pocketed over $4 million through California Volunteers, which was created by Gavin Newsom within the Office of the First Partner, which is an office Gavin Newsom also created. Now we are finding out that Gavin's wife was personally netted over $4 million through its nebulous organization, Cal Volunteers, a weird NPO that Gavin simply made up for her within the Office of the First Partner, but nobody can fully explain what they actually do. Folks, do you understand what that means?
No, I don't. What's it mean?
Well, it means that the governor and the governor's wife was on the take of laundering this fire aid money directly into their own pockets through these nebulous, nondescript NPOs, which I'm assuming an NPO is a smaller nonprofit organization, through these nonprofit organizations. Folks, this is the type of fraud. This is the type of corruption that you cannot unsee, because it's all over the place. We've seen it in USAID. We've seen it in all these NGOs, all these elected officials. I'm telling you, we've talked about it how many times. The onboarding packet for most of these roles explains to you how to set your family members up on boards and NGOs and NPOs and all these things so they can get rich. I mean, look at Ilhan Omar. Look at, now that she's fixed her accounting error, one of the first things they did was set her new husband up with a cushy new, what type? It was some sort of finance company, finance nonprofit or whatever, that was basically just funneling NGO money straight into their family.
That's right.
It's all over the place.
But the question in California is, do Californians care? And I'm not convinced that they do. I'm sorry. I'm not convinced that enough of them care. I'm not. Because they care about stupid things like transgender surgery or global warming. That's what they care about.
So I brought this up. With the way things turned out in Ohio governor race between Vivek and a Groyper, hopefully it will turn out the same between Byron Donalds and James Fishback.
I'm glad that you brought this up, because last night I was just kind of chilling out before bed, and I get this instant message on Instagram from somebody who reached out and was like, I need you to look into James Fishback for me. And I've done a little bit of research into this guy. And for whatever reason, there is this illusion that this guy has a chance to win in the state of Florida. So I went and looked at the recent polling. Now, you can't necessarily trust polling because it's not 100% accurate. But what you can do is you can look at polling trends to understand where things are headed. This guy is barely polling at 9% in the state. Byron Donalds is at like 58%. So I did a little bit more digging, and it does seem like he has a little bit of support, but he has amplified support online, just like people like Casey Push in Ohio had. This is exactly, look, folks, this is what the disinformation or the information, the psychological operation that's being played against you is to try to convince you that people like James Fishback have more support than they do, so that you feel demoralized and you don't go vote. The guy's barely polling at 9%. He's really only, maybe in Miami they like him. Maybe there might be small pockets. He might have a group of 25 or 30 people that he pays to travel around with him to make him seem like he's got more support than he does, but he's not even at 10% in the state. Now, I don't know when the primary is, and something could change, but he's a Groyper. People don't like Groypers. I'm sorry, but I cannot at this point in my life I'm not at the place where I think the American people generally are okay with people who are so filled with white hot hatred for Jews simply because they're told to. I just can't get there. Intellectually, I can't get there. And I don't think most Americans can get there either. It just doesn't make any sense to me. He's not going to win. Byron Donalds is going to win Florida. He's going to walk away with Florida easily. And on top of that, the Ron DeSantis has already signed into law a new congressional map in Florida.
Speaking of new maps.
Yeah. I'm starting to become convinced, folks, that the Democrats are actually very, very nervous about this upcoming midterm election. The information campaign against you is to try to get you to believe that they're not. But everything that we're seeing play out now in the redistricting wars, they're terrified, absolutely terrified. They thought that they could get away with trying to pull a fast one over on Virginia voters, and that's going down in flames right now. Let's jump into Virginia real quick, Nom, because you had some stuff on Virginia as well. There's just some new reporting out right now. You're starting to see this in Politico and other places that there's a bunch of backbiting happening in the state of Virginia between the governor and between the head of the Senate and the head of the legislature, because they are starting to realize that it is actually less than likely that the state Supreme Court supports their effort. And now there are starting to be leaked conversations between the governor and other people where the governor and her team were trying to convince the legislature that you guys, what we're getting ready to do is not legal.
It's not legal. It's not going to pass review.
We have a video of that, don't we? Play that video real quick.
I talked to some of those same people yesterday, and what I was told is they now think it's less than 50% that the court will let the certification go through. And what really triggered it, they said, was when the court didn't rule by Friday afternoon. The time they don't believe is on their side. And what apparently transpired over the weekend, and this person would know, they're in contact with the people I'm about to say, is that the governor's staff is now snipping at the Senate Majority Leader and House Speaker that they warned them last fall this would not pass legal review.
Yeah, because it violated the Constitution.
Yeah.
And like we talked about, the Virginia Supreme Court is not a partisan Supreme Court. If anything, it leads a little bit center-right. It's not a leftist court because of the way they pick and term their Supreme Court justices. I just saw this real quick. I want to pull this up. This is from...
I was getting ready to pull it up too.
Stephanie Carter. I don't know if it's true or not, but supposedly they have already filed motions to stop the redistricting here in Florida. Yes. Do you know who's behind that? Mark Elias.
Mark Elias.
Yeah.
No.
The biggest lawfare attorney working on behalf of the Democrats is the one who's filed those. And lately he's been getting his ass kicked in these lawfare efforts that he's been engaging in. Bottom line is Ron DeSantis and the Florida legislature, at least from my understanding, appear to have followed the letter of the law perfectly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, listen, can you really be surprised to hear that the Democrat Senate was informed by the governor and her team that what you're doing is potentially illegal and likely will not pass review, when you also have today the FBI raiding the office of Virginia Senate President Pro Tempore? What the hell is a President Pro Tempore?
I think it's just the person. It's the presiding leader, I think.
Okay. Yeah. So this woman here, her offices were raided.
People were arrested.
People were arrested today. And darn it, this freaking overlay, you can't see it. But there is a gentleman up here who's commented, because I saw this all over the place. This is the reason I really brought it up. I didn't realize it was going to dovetail so nicely into the just the pure, unadulterated illegality that went on in the Senate to even try to get these maps drawn in the first place. But this person, and I'll show you his name in a minute.
His name is Sam Stein.
Sam Stein. He says, I mean, maybe. She also just oversaw successful redistricting in Virginia, and so you have to be suspect of this. So the implication that I saw all over the place was this was this was a political retribution against her for the redistricting effort. And what is mind-blowing to me is this is Sam Stein.
Bulwark.
He's based
Bulwark.
Bulwark. And he's got almost 500,000 followers And this is the shit that they're putting out there. I had to remind Sam Stein, by the way, that it was the Biden FBI that initiated the investigation of this lady. Biden FBI. It just so happens these investigations, folks, take months and years. How many times have we talked about how long it takes for these federal cases to be built? Months and years. The Biden DOJ, the Biden FBI, are the one who initiated this investigation. And Pam Bondi and her team, Kash Patel, they just continued the investigation and sought indictments, sought search warrants and arrest warrants, and they went and executed them.
And the reason why they did it is because she owns a bunch of cannabis dispensaries. And apparently, allegedly, they were selling a bunch of stuff they shouldn't have been selling there. They're basically like selling drugs illegally through her legalized cannabis dispensaries. And there was some concerns or allegations of corruption. I don't know the details of that, but it's had nothing to do with redistricting. It had everything to do with the fact that the Biden FBI realized that they had a corrupt politician that they needed to deal with.
So do you have any idea how difficult it is to get a license to run a cannabis dispensary, whether it's medical or fully recreational? Not easy. Does anybody find it surprising that, and I'm just going to say it, that we have a number of African-American politicians whose family members suddenly got licenses to run these cannabis dispensaries? It's a lot of them all across the country.
I think she also owned or was running some type of Medicaid funding business as well. So, but a bunch of Medicaid money.
She's a criminal. She's corrupt as fuck.
Rude Dog laid it out here. It's money laundering. That's what she's being investigated for. Money laundering, corruption, money laundering, selling illegal cannabis, which is a weird thing to say, but nonetheless, we have to these days. But look, I mean, and by the way, she is a very, very close ally of Abigail Spanberger also. So the question that I think the Supreme Court in Virginia is going to have to answer is, A, are we okay with Democrats violating the Constitution on multiple fronts, blatantly, aggressively, and without any regard at all for the rules that the citizens of Virginia voted into place on how they define the way they should be redistricting? And are we okay with the person who is leading that effort being raided and possibly charged by the FBI for money laundering and selling drugs illegally through her cannabis dispensary?
I'm okay with the second half of that, just not the first half of that.
I mean, these people are ridiculous. It's absolute ridiculousness how corrupt some of these politicians are. This is why I think we need to somehow figure out how to make it okay to throw tomatoes at them. Somehow.
I think you just make it. Yeah, I mean, you just make AI videos of tomatoes hitting them in their face because that's assault, and we don't condone political violence at all.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of, since we're just going to kind of go like shotgun style now for a few minutes, if you don't mind.
Yeah, because we've basically been through all this stuff. Kamala, Ohio, we get rid of that.
Did you guys see this?
Yeah.
Nom, did you see this? Folks in the chat, did you guys see this? You remember how probably about a month or two ago, the FBI raided Fulton County election centers? Do you remember that? And Fulton County very quickly filed a challenge to the subpoenas that were issued by a judge to the FBI to go raid and basically confiscate all of their election records from the 2020 election cycle. Well, I believe what happened is the judge said, hey, FBI, while we work through this case, this challenge, don't open those boxes. And then I think this was just today, the judge ordered, you can open those boxes.
Ooh, that is not good.
Yeah, you can look in those boxes that you've been sitting on of all the ballots that you confiscated. And by the way, the Department of Justice has also issued a whole bunch of subpoenas for everybody's contact information that worked the 2020 election cycle in Fulton County. So they want the names, the phone numbers, and the contact information for the poll workers that were involved in the 2020 election in Fulton County.
Uh-oh. I'm over here playing with layouts. I may have screwed something up. Keep talking.
No, I don't think so. Does the layout look any differently for you guys?
No, hold on. Wait, I did. I screwed something up. Keep talking. I removed the layout. I'm trying to get rid of. I'm trying to clean this up. The overlay that we put on here is beautiful. It's great, but some of the layouts that we don't use all the time, like when there's two people, some of our stuff is covered. So I've been playing with these layouts quite a bit. while we've been talking, and I just unselected the one that we've been using this entire time.
Oh, well, that's not good.
The 2-man. It's that one right there. Hold on, it's back. And we're back. Yep. I got rid of the wrong one.
All right, good. Let's see. What do we want to talk about now? Oh, I was saying earlier that I think the Democrats are actually starting to get really, really nervous about this upcoming election cycle. There is now news starting to roll out that because of the way the individual Senate races are shaking out, it looks like the Republicans might actually flip Michigan and take that seat back. Democrats are probably going to flip a couple. They might flip Alaska. I think there's maybe 1 or 2 more they might flip, but Republicans are actually looking that they may hold the Senate, which I think in theory is good. The problem is if John Thune is the one who's still in charge of the Senate, that's not good at all because he's a freaking traitor. And if anything is learned from last night, John Thune, I hope to God it is this. Any of your colleagues in the Senate that think that you're going to be able to get away with standing in the way of the MAGA agenda by waiting out the clock, every one of those will lose their jobs. It may not happen in 2026, might not all happen in 2028, but we will make sure that every single Republican senator who dares to stand in the way of the agenda that we voted for, when we have an opportunity to remove them from office, we will. We will. Just look to see what happened in the state of Indiana. You thought you could get away with a bunch of state senators stopping a Republican president and a Republican party and a MAGA base that actually wants to win for a change, and they all look like they're going to lose their seats as a result of that decision. We will take your jobs from you, John Thune. I'm hearing all the time from people in your state who just are praying for the opportunity to vote you out of office. I mean, you saw what happened to Liz Cheney, didn't you? Gone.
Liz Cheney, you got Liz Cheney. That's actually a verb now. It's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And we may actually Liz Cheney.
It's an action verb. Liz Cheney.
Hey,
it's an action verb.
What about the one-eyed guy down in Texas? Didn't he lose his primary? Dan Crenshaw?
He did. Yeah, Dan Crenshaw.
Gone.
Mm-hmm.
Gone.
Mm-hmm.
Gone.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
There's going to be a test coming up in Kentucky. Masshole. Let's see how that one plays out.
Yeah, it's that'll be an interesting one. I think he's not going to be the same type of, I don't know, because that is a deep red district, but they like him because he's one of them. I mean, he came from the district. He's kind of the salt of the earth kind of guy. He's turned into a radical libertarian, almost leaning towards radical leftist at this point, who's betrayed the country. But nonetheless, he seems to be liked in his district. But the question is, who does his district like more? Do they like a president that wants to win or Thomas Massie? And I don't know. We'll see how that shakes out. But that is going to be another test.
I think they like a president who likes to win.
I think so.
Listen, all of these people continue to not understand who President Trump is, how he operates every single day, why he continues to win.
That's right. That's right. I got 2 more things I want to get to, and then we're going to wrap. First, I don't know if you guys know this, but I mean, I don't listen to Sean Hannity at all anymore just because it doesn't fit. And honestly, I think the way that he organizes his show kind of bores the crap out of me.
It's unwatchable. His Fox show on Fox News is unwatchable.
Yeah. But he has a new podcast out that has been very interesting recently. I think the first episode, or maybe one of the first episodes, he interviewed Dan Bongino for like 2 hours. I haven't had a chance to go watch it yet, but I've seen some of the clips. The clips that I'm seeing from the Sean Hannity podcast are incredible. And this most recent one, he had Kash Patel on doing just a sit down, kind of like over a glass of brandy type of conversation. So I got 2 clips that I want to play for you guys from that interview. I haven't watched the whole thing, but these clips are just awesome. So let's pull up Patel on Hillary. Can we get that up? Have you guys seen any of these, by the way? Have you seen these clips? Yeah, we know. American Freedom Defender says Massie is very popular.
He didn't go this deep in the weeds as we did.
Shit. Stop.
So we can start with Hillary Clinton as we did.
There we go.
Stop.
There you go.
We need to get rid of. All right.
I got it off.
Oh, all right. Go.
They didn't go this deep in the weeds as we did. So we can start with Hillary Clinton. Top secret classified information on her servers, which, by the way, I keep hearing rumors, maybe you can confirm this, that information may still exist and we may have a copy. Any truth to that?
We're working on a lot of things.
Look at
You're
that.
smiling.
Look at that
I don't
smile.
know. I like that smile. The smile is
Look at
very
that.
revealing, Cash.
Yeah.
All right. We'll save that
Look at
for
that.
a different show.
Look at that. Did you see that smile? Did you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder what they're doing over there at the FBI. Feels like they're working pretty hard.
They're doing actual FBI work, by the way. A lot of it. A lot of it.
A lot.
They're arresting a lot of super bad people.
They have fundamentally transformed the FBI. Fundamentally transformed it. Eliminated. And he goes on in that interview and he talks about how they have fired every single person that they have found that was involved in any way in the lawfare campaigns against Donald Trump from the FBI. Every one of them has been fired. All of them. So while he's out there actually reviewing and investigating and pulling together the grand conspiracy, they're also doing other stuff like this. Like, did you see this update right here? Operation Iron Pursuit. 200 plus victims located. Another 350 offenders arrested. These are all child trafficking operations that they're still breaking up after the thousands that they've already dismantled, the thousands of children they've already found. They're still working at it.
Yeah, but please tell me more about Trump's pedophile protector when all they're doing is arresting pedophiles left and right. Lots of them.
Everywhere. They're arresting these people everywhere. But there's another clip I want to play real quick. Pull up the Patel on conspiracy. This one is really good.
Here we go.
Again, I don't mean in 2016 and 17. I don't mean in 2021. I mean they ran it back just now.
Explain.
In the last election. In the one that just put Trump back in office. They ran the same playbook of getting regurgitated, bogus information, funded by political operatives, seeded into the intelligence community, and that's what we figured out and unlocked. And that is what I spend most of my time when it comes to the de-weaponization of government, focused on collecting those bad actors, getting grand juries, getting prosecutors, and building teams around the country, not just in one location, to look at that, because these people haven't stopped. The same actors were involved yet again. And so that, when you say grand conspiracy, I think the American public thinks one thing. When I hear it, I'm talking about the breadth of the entirety of it. And we are putting it all in one place. And that's the crux of what we're doing right now.
Told you.
We told you.
Told you. I mean,
folks, we told you that these guys are building a grand conspiracy case. And I don't know how many times Kash Patel has to go in front of a microphone in a one-on-one environment like he did with Joe Rogan and like he's done multiple times and tell you what they're doing. Now, I know the media doesn't want you to know that. I know the fake ass wannabe Black Pill America First crowd refuses to accept it. But it's happening. It's happening. I mean, it would be career suicide for him to go on a show like that and make that type of a statement if he were just making it up. Suicide.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows that. He knows that. Dan Bongino's interview apparently has some segments in there about the type of stuff that they found and how they found it and where they found it. And he goes on and is asked a series of questions about individuals that he thinks, I think John Hannity asked him to rate on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being a full-on traitor to the United States, where these individual names land. And what's interesting about it is both Bongino and Kash Patel seem to be hedging their bets just a little bit on Christopher Wray. Because somebody clearly left breadcrumbs for them to find where this information is. Somebody in prior FBI allowed them to be able to find this stuff. So Jim Comey labeled him as a traitor. Peter Strzok, traitor. Andrew McCabe, traitor. And when Christopher Wray's name was brought up, it was like, yet to be seen. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. If it
I
does,
need to
if
watch.
we ever
I need
get
to
there.
watch both of those.
Yeah, I do too. I was saving them for when I cut the grass next because I'll be on the mower for a long time. So I'm going to save them for the next time I cut the grass.
Yeah,
which
I'm going to
probably
do that tomorrow. I'm trying to knock out a good portion of my fence paneling tomorrow and lopping off the top of my fence posts.
Yep. But let's kind of land the plane here, and kind of get into what I think is the crux of why the Democrats are absolutely terrified about what's happening in the country right now. So you have a very clear symbol that MAGA is not dead. In fact, it's getting stronger. And I think I saw Guarding the Grid earlier when I mentioned that MAGA is not dead, that it's growing. I think the numbers are probably starting to add to the MAGA base because people are starting to understand what's really happening. Anytime I post a video anymore talking about the British imperialist system, my comment section are flooded with people who are like, yep, that's right. That's exactly what's happening. Absolutely flooded with people who immediately are saying, oh my gosh, you're watching Promethean Action. I don't watch Promethean Action all the time, but I do enjoy their content because it makes sense to me. But the point is, people are starting to wake up to the reality of what Donald Trump is establishing. What we are trying to show is actually working. People are getting it. They recognize now what the Trump team has been working on for decades. They recognize now the importance of the national security strategy document. They are seeing how the Trump administration has been laser focused on this objective of a free flow of energy around the world, doing it through an American economic system that allows regional partnership and allows for sovereign nations to actually benefit from their own productivity compared to a globalist system, which takes your productivity from you and gives it to the bankers in the World Economic Forum and the United Nations and the Rothschilds and the 13 families in the City of London. People are recognizing this. Maybe even some of the people who, when they heard a bunch of radical leftists complaining about imperialism over the last several decades, are now starting to understand what actual imperialism looks like. Because that's what imperialism looks like. People are starting to get it. And I think the Democrats are starting to wake up that Donald Trump, at least from my perspective, is playing the timing of this perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely perfectly. Let me ask you a question. Do you think Donald Trump was dumb enough to think that he could just go into Iran and it wouldn't cause oil shocks?
No, of course he knew. Of course he knew. Not only did he know, he also knew it would cause boatloads of boats to turn around and start heading towards us. He's changing tendencies. He's already starting to shift where these people trust that they can rely on their energy from, right? So no, he knew that this was going to happen. Do you think the timing was wrong too? Do you think they just randomly walked in one day? It's like, you know what? We need to attack Iran. What? No.
Well, you're onto something there, because think about not only the timing, but the order in which this stuff has happened. Knowing that the ultimate objective is you need to be able to control the major oil choke points around the world, you do things to control the easier ones to grab, knowing that the Straits of Hormuz is going to be the most difficult one.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing that going after the Straits of Hormuz and ultimately removing the agent of chaos from the Middle East is the thing that you have to do in order to dismantle the globalist system. That is the thing. You have to do a few things before that. First of all, you have to create other avenues for energy to flow and our own energy production and our own energy exportation, but not just ours, the energy in the Western Hemisphere. So if you know that you're going to create an energy shock by going into Iran, you should probably first free up energy in Venezuela. Should you not?
Should.
You should. But knowing that you're still going to end up causing a pricing shock to the American people, you should probably wait until right about the point where American people are getting pretty fat tax returns in their pockets too, shouldn't you? So the first thing you have to do is you have to solidify the largest tax cut in American history, so that when people file their taxes, low and middle income households see thousands of dollars more show up in their bank account right about the time that you're getting ready to go attack the Straits of Hormuz.
So Amazing Tor is right. No, Trump does need to put a little bit of pressure on these American oil companies. But listen, oil is still, it's a global market still, right? So when you have what is ideally and hopefully the last sort of gasp of these globalists being able to use and clench down on oil on the Straits of Hormuz to affect global oil prices. Folks, this is if Trump gets this right, and it's yet to be seen, because the only thing at this point that can stop this from happening is the American voter. Literally, the American people are the only ones who can stop this. And it's by turning over power of the House and the Senate, or the House or the Senate, to the Democrats, and that will stop it. So that president, there is no other there's no other hurdle or blockage in place to stop him from basically removing Iran from this agent of chaos that they've been. That's not it. It's the Democrats and it's the faggots.
That's right.
It's the American voter.
And
So,
like I said earlier,
it's still a global market, though.
That's why foreign adversaries are willing, and NGOs are willing to dump hundreds of billions of dollars into psychological operations online, is to get the American voter to feel like things are not going the way that they had voted for. Nam is absolutely right. It is the only thing that can stop this from happening. But to the Amazing Torah's point, look, let's have a little bit of perspective for just a few minutes, okay? And look, I am not a cheerleader for oil and energy companies, and you will never get me to cheer for them. I will say, however, I am a capitalist, and I will never also be that person that says all corporations need to be attacked, because the reality is most of your retirement plans are invested in some way in these oil companies. So when you see an oil company posting massive profits, you should actually be excited about that if you have any money invested in the hopes of being able to retire one day, because you're likely benefiting from it.
But there's also another angle to this, right? So the big bad mean oil conglomerates and companies, almost all of our oil industry is small business. It's small drillers. Go watch Landman, folks. It's all right there. You have the Exxons, you have those of the worlds, but it's like the rest of our economy, right? It's not top heavy. It's got a few massive players up there, but the rest of it is filled out with mom and pop shop and family owned or moderately sized oil rigs, oil companies. It just is.
Well, the other point I wanted to make on this topic, because I think it's an important one. I think the perspective that the American consumer have is maybe just a little bit, I don't know. Well, I'll put it this way. There are most countries around the world that are paying 2 and 3 times as much as we do for gasoline today. Over in Europe, it's $10-12. Hell, just in some states in this country, people are paying $7-8 a gallon. Here in central Ohio, because we had some extenuating circumstances, we had a couple refineries that had outages. There's a labor dispute up in Michigan, and there's planned spring maintenance happening. Ours popped to $4.99 just the other day, but then it came down pretty quickly, and it's right around $4.90. It's only that high because of the extenuating circumstances. But the reality is, U.S. gas prices are the lowest in the world, except for in Iran, who pays like cents on the dollar for gas.
12 cents a gallon.
Yeah, 12 cents a gallon. But the reason for that, and I think the Trump administration, and I know this, I don't know it, but I know it, that they are looking very closely at what these energy companies are doing. There's an economic and a pricing reality that happens in the oil industry and really every industry. It's called the rocket and feather effect. Do you guys know what that is? Rocket and feather effect. It's basically this phenomenon that occurs in just about every pricing mechanism where you have inputs coming and you have people buying and selling and all that kind of stuff. The rocket effect is when there's a rapid change to the price of an input. The merchandiser will immediately shoot the prices up, but then it takes a while for the prices to feather back down again. And the reason for that is because as you're buying gas or oil, in this instance, at a higher price, that has to work through their funnel before they can start to pull the price down by purchasing cheaper oil. So you're always going to see a spike quickly and then a feathering effect as it comes back down. But the one thing that is going to cause the biggest feathering effect, and the timing of this is so critically important, is the fact that the Trump administration is like this close to signing a memorandum of understanding with the Iranian leadership, the country of Iran, that I think is going to start to free up the Straits of Hormuz.
Yep.
And I saw this headline today, and this puts it perfectly. And this is why I think the Democrats are so terrified. I can't see that because of the border. Give me a second. What is that?
Here, I can change. Hold on, I can change.
No, you're good. Good. It says prediction. Trump-Iran deal will spark a stock market rally into the midterms. Do you think that Donald Trump was stupid enough to launch a conflict that everybody knew was going to create energy shocks in an economy right before an election if he didn't already plan for the ability to have a rapid improvement in those prices at just the perfect time when people were really starting to pay attention to economics? What this article goes on to talk about is the impact that we're seeing happen in the economy already, despite higher energy prices. The massive growth that we're seeing in our manufacturing base, the massive growth that we're seeing in our AI technology, and the efficiencies and the productivity improvements that the economy is just expanding rapidly underneath of a spike in energy prices. Do you know what's going to happen to this economy the minute that it's announced that there's a memorandum of understanding and that the Iranian conflict is coming to an end and that the Straits of Hormuz are going to be opened? Do you understand what's going to happen? The Democrats are terrified that the Trump administration has planned this so meticulously and so perfectly that there's nothing left for them to argue. What are you going to argue? That the Trump administration now has total control of the energy flow around the world? You're going to argue about that? That the American worker is seeing more money in their pockets because still today, despite the inflationary effect of energy prices, incomes are growing faster today, even with higher gasoline prices? Did you know that? That on average, the American worker is still seeing their income grow by a whole percentage point faster than what they're paying for gasoline at the gas pump? No, you didn't know that, because the information psychological war that's happening refuses to allow you time to see that. Instead, they want you focused on Candace Owens and the crap that's going on social media. But the reality is, very quickly, there's not going to be anything else to talk about. So you have the reality that MAGA is here, very much alive. You have Candace Owens getting absolutely destroyed on social media as people are deeply investigating all of her life and the ties that they have to the British imperialist system. You have Tucker Carlson, who now has audio recordings released of him talking about, I don't know, fantasies with a 14-year-old girl. You have the exposure that the FAGA movement was trying to build their own political party and only 15 people showed up. You've got Nick Fuentes endorsing a Democrat candidate in the state of Ohio, and you have Donald Trump reshaping the entire world.
For the next 100 years. Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, Democrats are terrified of what's getting ready to happen in the midterms. And the only thing that can stop this, the only thing, is for the American voter to not understand or not be able to see what's going on. That's it.
Yep.
That's it. I have that recording of Tucker Carlson. Do you want to play that?
Yeah, and there's another one in there that you said Candace is in big trouble. You got another video that says Candy is cooked.
Oh, yeah.
Let's do both of those.
Yeah, let's do both of those.
Yeah.
Let's do the Candy is cooked one first. So,
well, here's Tucker here first. I pulled Tucker up first.
He's in prison for facilitation of child rape.
Whatever the hell that means.
That means
he's in prison. He's in prison because he's weird and unpopular, and he has a different lifestyle that other people find creepy.
No, he's an accessory to the rape of children. That is a felony, and a serious one at that.
What do you mean an accessory? He's like got some weird religious cult where he thinks it's okay to, marry underage girls, but he didn't do it. Why wouldn't the guy who actually did it, who had sex with an underage girl, he should be the one who's doing life? The rapist in this case has made a lifelong commitment to live and take care of the person. So it is a little different. I mean, let's just be honest about it. He's not accused of touching anybody. He is accused of facilitating a marriage between a 16-year-old girl and a 27-year-old man. That's the accusation. That's what they're calling felony rape.
But in our state,
that's bullshit. I'm sorry. Now, this guy may be a total creep. Maybe it's not rapist. I'm just telling you that arranging a marriage between a 16-year-old and a 27-year-old is not the same as pulling a stranger off the street and raping her. That's bullshit.
But
you know what? In my brief experience, what gets women going is arguing with them.
Really?
Yeah.
Brad, I never use that.
It's true. You debate politics with a woman and just go, just full blown out there, especially feminism. If you're talking to a feminist and she's giving you, men really need to be more sensitive and this, actually,
do we have to listen to the rest of this?
You just need to be quiet and kind of do what you're told.
And lighten up a little bit.
They love it.
Alexis Stewart, we run into her all the time.
She seems
Cunt.
awful.
Yeah, she is awful.
They're very cunty.
She seems extremely
I like
cunty.
to hear that word out of, I stepped over him. She seems what? Now go ahead.
She just does seem a little cunty. Yeah, I mean, you said it. I'm just agreeing with you. I don't use that word here.
Right, I'd love for Tucker Carlson tonight on MSNBC. A girl that comes across kind of cunty.
Well, she does. I mean, I heard her. Now I'm a Brent fan, so I'm just stating my bias right out front here. But I heard her on with him, and I just wanted to give her the spanking she so.
I actually watched.
When she's laying her head in your bed at night, you know who the hell's in her bedroom and what they're
gross,
doing.
Dude.
Nobody, just her.
Hold on.
Well, when she's in a dormitory type setting and these little girls start experimenting around, next thing you know, you got a lesbian on your hands.
I don't think that's likely.
Next thing you know, Brad, what's going on in the Combe dormitory? Nothing. I don't got a PSP to play. I ain't got nothing going on. I ain't got my mom and dad here to tell me that they love me and tuck me in bed. So here's Trixie, and she wants to explore my body a little bit. So hey, let's go crazy. Wow.
That if it weren't my daughter,
that's one theory.
Well, I mean, it's
I just can't, and I just think that's pretty unlikely.
Can you tell them as outlandish as that is? How old is your daughter?
14.
We'll stop it there.
Yeah. So listen, we didn't. My apologies. We didn't really set that up very well.
Well, we didn't, but it's important for people to. And I wanted to play it for the shock value, because listen, this is the guy that all of FAGA is presenting to you as a potential presidential candidate, who has basically built his platform over the last year on this idea that Donald Trump is owned wholly by Israel and by Bibi Netanyahu. And all of his minions are trying to convince you that Donald Trump is out there actually defending some of the people who were in the Epstein files. And yet here the same guy is, just a few years ago, I think this was back in the early 2000s, talking about how he doesn't mind the idea of 14-year-old girls getting it on together in school. These guys are frauds, folks. They're all frauds. Every single one of them are frauds. And the more these people are exposed, the more opportunity we are going to have to talk about what's really happening in the country, the things that you care about.
Yep.
That's why it's important for you to see things like that. It's disgusting. I know, I understand. And I'm not talking about just like locker talk from, like Donald Trump talking about things in the back of a bus with Billy Bush. Like, that was disgusting. That is Tucker Carlson. Now, I think the case can be made that was Tucker Carlson at a point where he was drinking an awful lot. But if you look at Tucker Carlson today, I don't know how you can't argue that he has not fallen off the wagon, because he's saying a lot of the same things today. Or at least he's acting very similar to the way he was acting back then. And coming from a former alcoholic myself, I have a pretty good gauge on when somebody is acting alcoholically.
Alcoholically?
Alcoholically.
Don't come down to Mississippi very often.
There's a lot of them down there.
I'm talking about me. My Miller Lights.
Well,
that'd be like every Friday night.
Yeah,
I haven't been on a Friday night show in a while, and I'm going to miss this week's as well, unfortunately.
All right, let's play the last one,
and then wrap it up. Yeah.
Gosh, I think
it's I got it. It's Candy. Candy is cooked.
Hold on, we actually have two.
No,
we'll do Megyn Kelly later. Megyn Kelly spilled the beans. She basically just exposed the fact that most of these big podcasters don't care at all about you. They care about growing their audiences beyond the borders of this country. They're more interested in being able to reach the international market, which is why they are now saying things that attract Muslims and people from outside of this country. It's kind of like, and I used, sorry, hit the button.
What?
It's kind of, I used the analogy of when the NBA decided to insert themselves into the Chinese market. You started seeing a bunch of NBA stars sounding an awful lot like Chinese communists because they cared about growing in China because it's a market that has 3 times the number of people than this one. Well,
you saw Hollywood do the same thing.
Yeah.
Hollywood started, they started basically changing all of their content to appeal to be allowed to be shown in the Chinese market. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Last one is going to be
hold on. Family Crest. This is funny. If Candace Owens really is a dude, is he, she a Tucker too? That's a little funny. That was pretty good in their Family Crest. Well done.
Well played. All right. So a little backstory here, maybe set this one up. You guys know that Laura Loomer has been absolutely dismantling Candace Owens in ways that I don't think any of us expected to happen. We knew it needed to, and Laura Loomer is the perfect person to do it. Like she's even got like Carfax data on trucks and stuff. So there is this story been going around for years in conservative circles that Candace Owens' husband, George Farmer, has a bit of an alcohol problem himself. And what makes this really complicated for them is allegedly, he was arrested a couple years ago from a DUI after slamming his truck into another vehicle. And the allegations are that there was a loaded firearm involved at a time where he was on a green card applying for his citizenship. And somehow he ended up being naturalized and becoming a U.S. citizen, despite the fact that, he broke the law, which is kind of a problem. You can't really get your naturalization completed when, you have a weapons charge against you and DUIs against you. Somehow that didn't come up during the immigration process. So people are asking a lot of questions. Well, Candace Owens' response is like, no, that didn't happen. No. Basically, her response is to pretend like the allegations aren't even there and then to throw a bunch of slop at people. Well, her former boss at the Daily Wire just posted this video. Play the Candy is Cooked video.
Candace is trying to walk back some of her most salacious insinuations, but that doesn't mean she's suddenly discovered journalistic integrity or even basic honesty. In recent weeks, public records and documents have surfaced alleging that Candace's husband, George Farmer, was arrested in Nashville in August 2023 for DUI and leaving the scene of an accident. When Candace insists that this has nothing to do with her husband, that it's some completely different George Farmer in Nashville, Tennessee, well, that denial strikes me as pretty audacious. I was first made aware of the arrest and charges, leaving the scene of an accident after wrecking his truck at 3 times the legal limit while carrying a loaded firearm, shortly after it happened, back when Candace still worked for me at the Daily Wire. People who had access to the court documents approached me with them quite early, before the situation was resolved. By the time Candace started to engage in more and more evil behavior, the arrest was pretty well known in conservative circles. I was personally approached more than once by people asking me if I would speak out about the charges. In every instance, I refused. Not because I thought Candace's conduct was defensible, far from it, but because I believed then, and still believe, that family should generally be off limits. But of course, Candace doesn't believe family is off limits, just ask Charlie Kirk's widow. And so people now have decided to play by Candace's rules. But here, too, the lack of journalism online is very much a part of the story. While the charges are now public knowledge, making Candace's denials look increasingly strained, there's almost no reporting on what actually happened to the case. There's still no reporting on what happened to the charges themselves. Did Candace and George pay to make them go away? Did the police make an error or violate George's rights in some way? Were the charges brought against him found to be untrue? I mean, the police arresting you doesn't mean you're guilty after all. Responsible journalists would be pursuing these questions if there were any responsible journalists left to pursue them.
So remember Nom's point earlier, and I want you guys to remember this. This is an important political, if you get this point, it'll stick with you for the rest of your life. The most damaging thing that you can do to somebody in the political arena is change the public's perspective of them. If they already have the perspective that you are one way and that's baked into their opinion of you, then you're fine. Every allegation you throw at them, if it aligns with what you already thought you knew, it doesn't matter because you've already baked that into your decision-making process. But someone like Candace Owens, who has presented herself as a truth finder, as an investigator, as somebody who is in a position to ask questions and has painted herself as this wholesome Catholic loving family with nothing to hide, suddenly starts having all of the dirt of her life exposed and then refuses to respond to those allegations, and in many cases starts lying about it. All of a sudden, large numbers of the audience that she's been relying on starts asking questions. Wait a minute, that's different than what you told me about yourself. That's changing the perception that they have about her. It is my belief, and I think I'm accurate on this, that you're going to rapidly see the demise of the FAGA influencers and their ability to influence public opinion quickly, because they're all being systematically dismantled. They had their moment in the sun. They made their money. They had fun. They pulled off some of the underbelly of American society, and they were able to convince people to show you just how racist and disgusting they really are and their core of who they are. They showed you the fact that they rely heavily on botted engagement farming and sock puppets, in many cases using left-wing Antifa-driven sock puppets to pretend like their engagement is more, and now they're being destroyed. We're quickly moving to a place where we can actually get back to what matters, which is talking about this country and what Donald Trump is doing to fix it.
So, Eric Hartwell, I just saw you thanking me for the love. This is not going to be love. Jeremy, so Eric Hartwell says, I can't take that seriously. Sorry. Anyone with the word boring in the title of the show can't do it. That's literally his last name. Jeremy Boring is his last name. So, I mean, that's why it's in the name of the show, because that's his name.
That's right. That's his name. All right. We done? I think we're done.
We are done.
We're done. We're not going to be here on Friday, are we?
No, I have so the big boy is graduating college on Friday, and the little boy, not so little anymore. We have to move him from his dorm room into our condo. And then his roommates, we got everybody signed a new lease for next school year. So we got to move him out. So now I'm going to be up at Ole Miss. We got to leave super early Friday morning to make graduation, and then we'll be up there. So I won't be on the show. All right.
Yeah, we just ask you guys to be patient with us over the next couple of weeks, because
there's a lot going on personally. A lot.
SK has, as you know, a ton of stuff going on with the wedding and the end of school. And then I am packing up what little belongings I have, and we are starting the process of moving down to Alabama here in about a week and a half. So it is likely that we will not be doing a full suite of Monday, Wednesday, Friday shows every week over the next several weeks. In fact, I would probably suspect that we'll probably cancel the Friday shows for the next few weeks, but we'll get back to you with more details on that. But we know for certain that we are not doing a show on Friday because my daughter is getting ready for her recital. We've got stuff to do Friday night. Nom's got stuff to do, and I'm sure SK has stuff to do also. So, but we will see you next week on Monday as we continue to dive in to the things that are really important to you and to us fixing this damn country.
All right, folks, we're out. See ya.
trading sacred liberties for power, gold, and twisted dreams. From the broken borders to the fields our forefathers tilled. The enemy is prowling, truth is silenced on or killed. But I'm a patriot source, forged in fire, standing tall. Bible as my sword and Old Glory as my call. No apologies for loving this blood-bought land. We'll charge the gates of darkness with the fire of the righteous stand. God bless the USA. We'll never bend or break. Patriots of freedom, warriors wide awake. They laugh at heaven's mercy, call our faith a dying flame. But when the storm clouds gather, we invoke the holy name. The serpent weaves through statutes, twisting justice into chains. Yet with God as our commander, victory still remains. Yeah, I'm a patriot source, forged in fire, standing tall. Bible as my sword and Old Glory as my call. No apologies for loving this blood-bought land. We'll charge the gates of darkness with the fire of the righteous stand. God bless the USA. We'll never bend or break. Patriots of freedom, warriors wide awake. So arm your heart with courage, let your spirit mount the steed. Ride against the shadows, truth and justice we decree. No